I hope you're all well and staying safe at home. My name is Jamal Ngidlana and I'm Creative Director of Bubblegum Club. Today we're going to be giving a Creator U class for Adidas ZA. So today's class is not quite a lesson, but more of an inside look into our image making process. So we recently dropped our latest cover featuring rapper and musician Usanele, and Lex Trickett and myself will take you through our process. So basically we started by considering our context. That's COVID-19 and us being within a global pandemic and how we could create a cover during a global pandemic in the midst of a lockdown. So we've already been experimenting with CG. Our last cover with Pure had some CG elements in it. And this was an opportunity to create a cover that was completely computer generated.
How's it, guys? My name's Lex Trickett. I'm the design director at Bubblegum Club. We started with receiving photos from Usanele, and we fed those photos into a program in Blender, which then recreates a realistic model of his head that's fully textured. After that, we kind of exported that 3D model of the head and brought it into another program called DAZ 3D. So we used that program specifically to kind of lock down the pose that we would use in the final render. A large part of the final render was experimenting with CGI clothing and 3D garments. So I received quite a lot of reference of fashion collections from Jamal, which we then kind of used as a starting point and created the clothing in 3D and simulated in Marvelous Designer. We then brought that back into Cinema 4D for the final render.
So as Lex mentioned, I sent him some images from some of my favorite collections. I sent him a look from Jean-Paul Gaultier's Spring-Summer 1994 collection. I also sent him a look from Comme des Garçons Autumn-Winter 2007-2008 collection, and from an Iris van Herpen Autumn-Winter 2011-2012 collection. Lex then recreated these garments and fitted them onto Sanele's body in 3D.
A lot of that process was looking at 2D, how textiles and clothing are kind of sewed together. So it's doing a Google search for a jeans pattern. I then bring into Marvelous Designer and trace out. It then gives you the chance to kind of sew specific elements together and simulate them onto the posed figure. So all the folds and wrinkles and the textures and everything look hyper-realistic. There was another Comme des Garçons piece that we worked on that kind of had a bow detail. We had to trick it in a way and kind of inflate the bow detail on the garment. The next phase was simulating that garment on an avatar. With that, we kind of had to animate the avatar from a T-pose to the final pose in the rendered image. And through that process, the garment then gets simulated onto the avatar. It then becomes kind of quite photoreal. When we bring it back into Cinema 4D, it sells the CGI components and moves it to more a photoreal direction.
After styling, creating the garments and simulating them in 3D, we then had to create a scenario within which we would place a model of Sanele's body and effectively create the final image. When it came to building the landscape or scenario, we started with the rapper next to his car trope, but then imagined a version of the scenario that would never be possible in reality. We imagined Sanele owned a Mars rover and lived on an alternate planet. Lex then created a look for this planet and also inserted a 3D model of a Mars rover into the scene. We then sat together and strategically moved things around the scene to create a photographic composition.
Throughout the process, we had to be quite resourceful on how we created the scene. A lot of it was found 3D models online, free textures that were given away by people. The ground is actually a photo texture of a surface, which I then color corrected and made to look more like a Mars-like surface.
When we started the process, I didn't really feel as if there'd be a photographic component to the project, but when it came to moving things around the landscape, posing Sanele, selecting the angle of the camera and focal length, which all happened in Cinema 4D, I realized that in fact the process is very photographic, even though it's a completely computer-generated image.
Next phase of the image creation process was dialing in the correct lighting, rendering and texturing of the final image. A large part of the process was texturing human skin and getting that to look fairly realistic. So skin maps in 3D are split up into 6 to 8 different maps. So it's all channeling all those layers into a texture map and rendering them out. We used Octane Render, which was kind of a physically based GPU renderer. In this case, it took 15 to 20 minutes per frame. I think in this case, because all our covers are print ready and high res, the image did take quite a lot longer to render. But a longer render sometimes means just a smoother, cleaner image. After that, just some general color correction and cleanup of the image, but we were pretty happy with the way it came out straight out of the render engine. Cool guys, thank you so much for watching and observing our process of image making at Bubblegum Club. Yeah, we thoroughly enjoyed putting this together, and I hope it inspires you all to create something amazing during lockdown.
Baby.